There are so many beautiful art that can be created in black paper, but unfortunately, a lot of artists tend to use mostly white paper. Well, today I'm going to share with you how I create a one-of-a-kind art using color pencils and my black sketchbook. Well, let me show you how I do it. Okay, so to get started with this drawing, I first sketched the image in my black paper sketchbook. Then I colored almost everything with white pencil. I feel that that helps me to give me a brighter look for all the colors that I lay over the white. But you could skip that step and just go directly with your colors. I just feel like it becomes brighter with the white under the real colors that you want to use. So as you can see here, I'm using some very tiny little pieces of pencils. I'm just in challenging myself to try to use all my tiny little pencils. Prismacolor pencils are not cheap, so I feel like it's important to use them all the way to the end. So I'm using here a pencil extender. And this color of this pencil is a very light green. So I started usually with the light colors, and for a black paper, it's good to use very, very bright colors. So here we're going to use a lot of yellows and light greens and light blues to make the colors really pop up in this black paper. If you don't have Prismacolor pencils, it's okay. You can use any other brand of pencils that you have at home. Just have fun with the process. That's what it's all about. Most of the time, the pencils are not responsible for the quality of your art, but the paper is. So the paper is more important than the pencils in almost all mediums that we use. So here, yeah, you can see me now just adding the yellow, and I'm just going back and forth with white and yellow and very light green. It's just a very playful process, and it's a very slow process. So it's important to remember I did not finish this drawing in 20 minutes, which is the time of this video. It took me a lot longer. In fact, sometimes I would get tired and just had to stop, take a break, and even come back the next day to continue. So it took maybe at least 2 or 3 days to get it finished. Of course, every time that I worked on this drawing, I didn't work for the whole day or for too many hours. But just as a disclaimer, in case you wondering, wow, you can finish this drawing very quickly, and no. In reality, colored pencils is one of the slowest type of mediums, I think at least. It usually takes me a long time because you layer in the colors one by one, each area of your drawing. You're going to touch slowly and blending in and layering, and sometimes you layer a little more and you add the color, and then you don't like the color that didn't give it the effect that you wanted, so you have to add even another color. So that takes time. So you can see in this tree that I'm coloring right now, I started with very light colors, as I mentioned, the white, the yellow, the very light green. Then I went all the way to the other side of the tree and add a very dark green. And now I'm coming back in the middle with mid-tone green, and then just blending everything together. So the blending process with color pencils is probably one of the most satisfying phases of the whole process, because that's when you see your art coming together, and that's just very satisfying. So also, if you are a beginner, I would recommend to try smaller projects. This sketchbook that I have here is very large, is 9 by 12. So maybe for a beginner, this can be a little bit overwhelming, and you might feel intimidated with a very large size sketchbook, because then you have to have a very large size drawing, and that will require a lot of time coloring and drawing and coloring and blending. And so I would start small, so just get a smaller sketchbook, or if you have a big one like that one, like this one that I'm using, then maybe cut the paper in half, and then you just have half of the size for your art. Another thing that I would like to remind beginners is that make sure your pencil is very sharp. Keep them very, very sharp, because it's much easier to work with color pencils if they're very pointy, and they will break and they will release some of those particles that you see me sometimes brushing out of the drawing. But that's okay. It's really better that way, because you get a better result with very sharp pencils. Sometimes you see me here with pencils that are not very sharp, and the only reason why they're not very sharp is just because they're too tiny. So there's no more space to sharpen them with a pencil sharpener. I would have to use a knife, and I just didn't want to use a knife here. Another tip for beginners is to use a foamy grip, pencil grip, like these that you see me using here. So these are helpful, especially if you are going to color for a long time, if you have pain in your hands, if you have arthritis on your fingers, or just if you just want a little more comfort as you are coloring. A pencil gripper like that, or pencil grip like that, or pencil holder, you can call it that way as well. You can find those online, and they're pretty affordable, and they make your life much easier when you're coloring. Another thing to use is the pencil extender that you have been seeing me using here since the beginning. For some of the pencils, I'm just don't have the patience to put them in the extender, the pencil extender, but it's much easier to use them with the extender. Otherwise, it hurts your hand after some time, especially if you're going to use for a while. So that's another thing that helps you, makes your life a little bit easier while you're coloring. Another thing to have handy is that brush. You have seen me using a little dry brush. This is just a very soft brush that I have for a long time, and for whatever reasons I don't use it for painting anymore. I don't think it's good quality anymore. It's too old. But it's perfect to clean those little particles of wax that gets released from the pencils. So don't use your hand. Don't brush them off from your paper with your hand, because that will smudge the drawing. So use that little brush. It's also very convenient. So you keep your hands clean while you're coloring. Well, let's see what else we can say about this drawing. Oh, about the paper. So the paper that I'm using here is very smooth. It's maybe too smooth for color pencils. For color pencils, it's best to use a paper that has a little bit of texture. So I really like this paper. It is very good. It's a good quality. It's very thick, but it does not have any tooth to it. So it's okay. I think it's important that we explore various types of papers and art supplies and mediums. And I have another video that I colored some flowers in black paper, and I was really satisfied with that one. I don't know why in this one it became a little bit difficult with the darker colors, but I don't know. I think the pigment in the wax of this color, the dark tones pencils are a little bit different, or they behave a little bit different in this type of paper. So again, use whatever paper you have handy, but if you can have some paper that has a little bit of texture, that's probably the most recommended. However, just explore everything that you can explore. So if you have a paper that is very smooth and has no texture, just use that anyway. You're just doing this for fun. So as long as you enjoy the process, that's a good thing. I'm going to leave you now with a little bit of music, and I will come back soon. So here is the final result of our black paper art. I really love how the moon is glowing over there. I love the contrast of the bright green trees against the very dark background. And you have noticed that I created those houses without any doors or windows. I was going to put some windows and doors, but then I decided to just leave it like that. I feel like it looks like a little bit mysterious. So I don't know. It's just like a you go there and wonder where is the door, where is the window. So it just adds a little bit of mystery to this drawing. Also being whimsical. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. I decided not to make doors or windows for the houses. And so since it's kind of mysterious, I'm gonna call this moonlight mystery, I guess. I don't know. Let me know if you have any other suggestions for the name of this drawing. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you want to learn more about drawing, coloring, then maybe watch the next video coming up, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.